basic amenities or the infrastructure? And as an architect, what are the responsibilities on the shoulders, on your shoulders? Because I think the architects can make the city or break the city. And if you look at the way the Bangalore has been taken over by the real estate mafia, we see that there is a serious problem in the design and of the inappropriate the structure, etc. Now, my talk consists of three parts. The first part, for 5 or 6 minutes, I will give some message. The second part, I will talk about urbanization. Then the third part would talk about what I have done to the society as a researcher. Apart from teaching and doing research, so what are the intervention I have done in the society? So the talk is about 80 to 85 minutes or 80 minutes. Then after that, you can pose the question. Now, we all talk about sustainable development. We need to design to ensure that our children will have the clean air, water and environment. If our design is going to affect any of these aspects, then that design is not a sustainable design. We should not hamper the sustenance of natural resources. And for this to happen, we need to have a sensible citizen with a green lifestyle. That will ensure the security, survival and peace. The well-designed cities, you see that there is a lot of peace and also the happiness and health in the society. Now let us try to learn from nature. When you look at the nature, you see that you all would have studied this when you are in the school, probably in the 6th or 7th standard. How the food chain, what are the constituents of the food chain? When you look at the food chain, you think that someone is eating the other. But when you look at from an engineering point of view, as an engineer, you can learn the principles of thermodynamics. That there is a energy and material transfer happens when the food is eaten from one level to the other level. So that is what is happening from the producer to the consumer, various levels of consumer. Then whatever is left in the system is being converted into elemental form by the decomposers. We call them as biodegrading engineers, bioengineers. The bacteria and fungi does that job. So when you look at the nature, there is nothing called waste. Where do you see the waste? I would say you will see waste where waste people are there. Who are the waste people? The people who use too much of the synthetic material which are not assimilated by the nature. They are the group of waste people. For example, to give you an example, somebody going to the hotel, getting the food in a polythene bag, then getting it in a steel carrier is a waste fellow. Because he need to understand that the polythene is a chemical, has a chemical constituent. When we put the hard stuff in those polythene bags, naturally, because of the heat, the chemicals which are there in the polythene will get into the food. That is where, these are carcinogens. They are called dioxins. Because of that, there are instances of people getting cancer. That means people who go to the hotel, get the food for the family, for the children, they are essentially giving the cancer. And of course, when you throw that polythene bag out in your garbage, you see that gets into the other the implications. That's why one has to be sensible and responsible. I do not understand what is the difficulty in carrying the steel carrier to the hotel to get the food. The best situation is to cook at home. In case there are some issues to cook at home, at least they can carry the carrier and get it. So that is where the sensible people are required in our system to ensure that everyone is healthy. Now, I will take you to the Western Ghats. This is my study area and also my home. Unlike you all, I have a home start from Kerala to Gujarat. In fact, this is the region we keep wandering, and the length of the Western Ghats is about 1,600 kilometers. This is a region rich with the biodiversity, and also the region has the innumerable 100+ rivers which are perennial. Because of the water availability, there is a food security in the region. See, that is, when you look at the Western Ghats, it constitutes only 5% of the India's geographical area. And out of that 5%, we have identified ecologically sensitive region which constitute 40% of that 5%, which is about 2% of the total. Can't we keep this 2% for our children? As the region is giving us the water and the diversity of plants and animals. Now let us try to understand the other significance of the Western Ghats. See, you all know there is a diversity of life. You see the cockroach to the crow outside, pigeon and all these things. These are the various organisms that are there. We call them a biodiversity or the diversity of life. Our literature has estimated, there are mentioned in Rig Veda that 8 to 12 million species are there on the earth. And science has estimated about 1.3 million species. See, whatever the knowledge that what we got from our scriptures, we have not taken it forward. Had we done that, probably we would have been in the forefront in the country and the globe. So that is what we need to do that. And when you have diversity of the organism, you also have a diverse food and diverse medicine. So that's where we need to respect Mother Nature and conserve that. Now coming back to the Western Ghats, let us see what is the species composition in the Western Ghats. As engineers, you all know the latitude, longitude, the X and Y coordinates. When you look at Kerala to Gujarat, it starts at 8-degree latitude to 22-degree latitude. Now when you look at the species occurrence across the latitudinal gradient, you see at 10 to 14-degree latitude, you have the highest number of species. See, if I don't conserve this region, then I will not have the diverse medicine or the diverse food. That is where we need to conserve that. This region corresponds to Kerala and Karnataka part of the Western Ghats. Now to explain this further, see, you all as an engineer, we talk about development. Development needs to be the sustainable development. What is the sustainable development? I would say development which wouldn't compromise the ecosystem integrity and also which does not deprive the local people their right to live. So that is the development which I call it as a sustainable development. For example, you see there is a railway project from Kerala to Mumbai. At the same time, the farmers who are getting their fish, the rice, sand and salt, they are not deprived of their livelihood. This is the kind of development one should have, not displacing the local people and depriving them their right to live. So I would say as an engineer, the responsibility is on our shoulders not to deprive the other section of the society their right to live. Now, let us try to see as an individual how we can help in the nation building. I would say that let us optimize the water use. How can we do it at an individual level? Now, one of the simple thing is I would suggest you to have more of pulses. Pulses are the protein that also gives a stability to your body. Healthy diet also makes you to think efficiently. As a youngster, you need to think efficiently. When you think efficiently, you will have a positive frame of mind which is required for an engineer. Now let us try to understand what are the benefits of having pulses. Now, see, pulses helps in weight management. So from our study it shows that obesity can be reduced and also the lipid accumulation in the body can be reduced because of the pulses, which we have studied the algae. The similar thing happens in the human. It helps in the optimal brain functioning. It is a good source of vitamin and mineral and reduces the risk of cancer, aids in digestion and helps in preventing cell and gene damage. And also sprouted lentils aid in muscle generation. You would have seen people like Shah Rukh Khan having the lentils to have the six-pack or the reserve. So that is how it has been helping the all age group. And also it helps in controlling the diabetes and low blood pressure. See, when people start consuming the pulses, we need to grow more pulses. So let us look at what is the water footprint for the pulses. See, for pulses, to grow 1 kg of pulse, you need about 200 liters of water. While rice or wheat requires 3,000 to 5,000 liters of water. While a kg of beef requires 15,000 liters of water. And also, when you grow pulses, the crops are not eaten by animals. I would say in the villages where human-animal conflicts are there, while wild animal moves, we should make sure that farmers grow only pulses, not the paddy or the sugarcane, because paddy and sugarcane are invariably eaten by the animal. That is where the loss of life and property and the crop will happen. So to minimize the human-animal conflict, one of the best ways is to grow pulses so that farmers get stable income. At the same time, there won't be the human-animal conflict. Now, let us, I'll give you one example how pulses are helped. One of my colleagues, after retirement, see, when he was the director of the place, he had a problem of blood pressure, sugar related to the job. But after retirement, he changed his food habit. Probably he met people like us. So when he changed the food habit, now when you look at his dinner plate, he has a 5 varieties of vegetables, each of 50 grams, and 5 varieties of fruit, and a bowl of pulses. You know, when you look at the 5 varieties of vegetable and 5 varieties of fruit, that shows the diversity. Because of the diversity, there is a stability in his system. And pulses gives the much more support required for the body. You know, that is where when you have a healthy diet, you will not have any health issues. Now today that gentleman is about 76, he neither have blood pressure nor sugar. Now what I understand from his the switch over in the food habit, I see that because of the healthy diet, he has become a good human being, and there's a physiological, psychological, sociological, environmental, nutritional and emotional thing is associated with the kind of the food we take. That's why you see the people who eat junk food like pizza, etc. Invariably they get, they think in a cranky way, and they also waste a lot of their time arguing unnecessary things. All those things happens in our system. So the healthy diet makes you more focused, and also your body would be the more healthy, and it is amenable to the any new ideas also. Now these are my areas of research. I work in a diverse the discipline. My students work on various aspects like ecology, energy, etc. Those who are interested can go to my webpage. The link is here. So now with this, you understood when you look at nature, you can learn many things. You know, when you learn from nature, if you apply in your design, then your design becomes successful. What are the principles of nature one can learn? As I said earlier, energy and material transfer happens, and because of that there is an optimization. Now when you look at these plants, all of them are competing. They are processing the during photosynthesis they are processing the food, taking away the carbon from the atmosphere, and there is a competition among them. None of them are deprived. There is an optimization also. Competition has led to the optimization. So, and you see that the second principle of the nature is remediation. You may see in the river basin people washing the cloth. You collect the water sample at that location. 500 meters downstream, you collect another water sample, you analyze. For the point B, that is the second point, you do not see any contaminant compared to the point A where the people are washing the cloth. That means by the time water moves from point A to point B, there is a treatment that has happened. This is done by the bacteria or algae. So that's where we call that as a bioremediation. This is the second principle of the nature, treating if it is well within the carrying capacity of the region. So that's why when you design, you need to make sure that your design does not across the carrying capacity of. To ensure sustainability, you need to maintain renewability. See, elderly people leave the scene, younger people will take over. Because of that, there is a continuity. Because of that, there are the sustainability in the system. Now, for this to happen, there has to be a balance, or the nature has to be in equilibrium. You see, the nature is always in equilibrium, where as long as the two-legged animals do not appear in the picture. The moment the two-legged animal comes into the picture, they think of only themselves. That's where the imbalance starts happening in the system. So now, how you can make sure the sustenance of resources? I'll give another example. Now, this is in a place where we do a lot of research in the West Coast. I see an elderly woman who is in the age group of 55 to 60, goes under the water and spends few minutes. And when she spends few minutes under the water, she collects a bucket full of bivalves. These are the marine organisms she collects, and when she sells that, she earns 250 to 300 rupees a day, which is enough to sustain her family. Now, compared to her, if you look at urban people, see, the requirement is not dependent on how much we earn. Our status, we think that is evident from the how much we exhibit. To give a simple example, suppose I have a Maruti 800 and my neighbor don't have Maruti 800. As long as my neighbor don't have Maruti 800, my family would be very happy because we are better placed compared to them. But my happiness goes down the moment my neighbor buys the Innova. And my Innova fellow will be happy as long as his neighbor doesn't buy a lorry. When you look at from the Maruti 800 to the lorry-sized car, it only shows the arrogance of an individual or the exhibition of the waste of natural resources or the resources. So compared to that, these are the ecosystem people who think about the tomorrow, the sustainability of the resources, and that's why they do not harvest the resources more than what is required for their family. That is how they maintain the sustenance or the sustainable development of the region. Now, if you do not respect that, what will happen? Let us try to understand. As an architect, you need to look at these messages. For example, if you look at each island, people thought that land is available, they went on expanding the island. One day people have to vacate this island because there is no the water. The water has made the region unsustainable or unlivable. The similar situation is happening in Bangalore, and you will see when I take up the case study of Bangalore, you will understand that. So now the similar thing you can also see in our country. The last leg of Vijayanagara kingdom failed because of the water scarcity. So now that means, as an engineer, when we design the project, we should make sure that we are not cutting off the water. And in fact, I have come across the architects talk about floodplain development and choke the floodplain with a concrete building. These are all the kinds of the mistakes that people are doing. They think that aesthetic is more important than the natural function of the ecosystem. Okay. Now, see, when you have the healthy ecosystem, you will have the holistic health, which is the harmonious state of mind, body, and spirit. The people who work in such environment are also quite healthy in the system. Okay. Now, let me take you to the Bangalore. You see that in a region where I work in Western Ghats, you saw the elderly lady at 55 plus, going under the water and collect a bucket full of bivalves, earning 250 to 300 rupees a day. Here, in the so-called Silicon Valley of India, you see a young lady in the age group of 20 to 25 has to struggle in the waste, the dump, to get 25 to 30 rupees a day, which is not even sufficient for her to run her family. Is this a development? The way the city is designed, we have the situation of the floods happening quite often, and also if people try to take a rest, they will be completely arrested because of the unplanned activities in the city. Now let us try to understand how this urban ecosystem, there is an imbalance. I would say that urbanization is required, but it should not be the unplanned urbanization. If you understand the causal factors, you would be able to come out with the mitigating measures. That is what the engineers have to do that. And some of the things what we have intervened and tried to do in Bangalore is the wastewater treatment, sustaining the water through the lake, decentralized system of the water harvesting and mini forests, etc., which I will take it up at the end of my talk. Okay. Now let us look at the urbanization, urban growth, and urban dynamics. You all know the planning. You can have two kinds of urban area. One is a planned in the form of township, whereas the other one is unplanned. The Bangalore in 70s was a planned city. The day when the globalization and market opening up led to our BDA, the custodian of Bangalore, they handed over the city to the real estate mafia. That is where the city became an unplanned, the city started witnessing an unplanned urbanization. Now, when there is a planned urbanization, you see that there is a sufficient amount of water, the clean air, etc. But when there is an unplanned urbanization, you will also see that there is a kind of a leapfrog development leading to the sprawl in the outskirts, etc. When there is a sprawl, the sprawl is a region where there are spurts of the growth happening, which if the developer do not visualize it, or the decision maker do not visualize it in advance, then that region becomes a slum without any amenities or the infrastructure. That region is dominant with the poor air quality, the higher air temperature, inefficient energy devices, and all these the problems are associated with the sprawl. Now, can we analyze the urban dynamics? This is the kind of the growth happening in the region. So you are all fortunate. Today we have remote sensing data. What is this remote sensing data? See, you all use camera. You take a picture of the person or the process. Similarly, when you mount this camera on the satellite, the space platform, the satellite keeps revolving the Earth. You get a picture of the Earth at regular intervals. For example, These satellites were launched way back in 70s. Before your birth, the satellites were launched, and we have the photograph of the Earth before your birth, 1970 onwards, every 21 or 30 days interval. When you take those images, you should be able to analyze how much area is under urban, how much area under the vegetation, etc. Now, once you have a large time data, like from 1970 to 2020, you should be able to visualize or the model what is the likely scenario in 2025 or 2030. That is what we have done. There are various modeling techniques are available: cellular automata Markov, GeoMod, AHP. These are the various models. If you go through our the publications, urban publication, the link I shared with Dr. Anand, you can get an idea about all these modeling techniques. Now, when you have the remote sensing data from the satellite, and along with that the collateral data like topographic map, etc., you should be analyze those images and find out how much area under urban, how much area under agriculture, or the tree, etc. That's what we do it in the data processing and analysis. Finally, we interpret the data. This is how the protocol for the image analysis is there. And normally we do the agent-based modeling. We know the agents of the changes. Once you capture the behavior of the agent, your modeling would be the more accurate. So you should not go in for the non-agent based modeling. Cellular automata is based on the neighborhood principle. It doesn't account the agent's behavior. That's why sometimes cellular automata could be the erroneous. Okay. Now let us try to look at Bangalore. Bangalore became a Bengaluru in the 2006 or 2007. Now let us try to look at the current Bangalore, which is about 740 square kilometer. In this 740 square kilometer, way back in 1800, how many trees were there, how many water bodies were there? If you look at, there were 1,452 water bodies and 82% was green cover. And because of that, the temperature of the region was 14 to 16 degrees Celsius. If you look at the historical documents are available for the Bangalore, you will be surprised to see the temperature in the May month, that is summer, was 14 to 16 degrees Celsius. And today, it is at 34 to 37 and sometimes 40 degrees Celsius. And for few days in December, the temperature was 0 degrees Celsius. Closer to my institute, there is a place called Palace Orchard, where people were growing the apples. Today, what do we grow in Bangalore? With all kinds of the poor infrastructure, etc., only the waste. So this is the kind of the transition I have seen. The city, which was a garden city in 73, became a garbage city, and today it's a dying city or a dead city. So now you understood the implication of choking up the region with the removal of natural surfaces. So as an architect, you need to understand, and you need to understand the ecosystem. You need to have a basic knowledge of how the ecosystem functions, what is the structure of the ecosystem, and the structure of the ecosystem, how it is related to its function. When you look at the functional ecosystem, the water hydrologic regime or the water cycle, the biochemical cycling, these are all the functions of the ecosystem which are directly dependent on the structure of the ecosystem. When you alter the ecosystem structure, naturally you are also altering the hydrologic regime. That's why most of the places which are concretized have become either flood or the drought situation, and there is no water in the bore wells. And that is the kind of situation the engineers of my generation has given to the youngsters. I hope as youngsters you will take the note of the mistake done by my generation, you will rectify it and make sure that your children are happy, and you do not commit the same mistake, but you will take the message of the mistake what we have done. Now, this is how earlier the planning of the city was. There used to be a protective wall and there used to be a water body adjacent to the city. That is what the princes thought about water security and the protection to the human habitation. But today, when the developer looks at the building, the lake, they think about only lake view apartment, how much area they can encroach and how to convert that into the apartment, and then can make money in the name of lake view apartment. And of course, they will have a nexus with politicians and bureaucrats. That's why they make it, and they will force the architects, who though they do not want to do such a poor design, they come to their pressure and do the mistake of converting the lake into the building, etc. Now let us look at the Bangalore topography. I said 740 square kilometer area. If you look at it, is like a small hillock. the water which falls in the Bangalore flows in three directions. Taking advantage of topography, our elders had created the interconnected water body. See, the river or a stream was flowing, they just put the bund and they converted that the low-lying area into the lake or the tank. So that's where the interconnected lake system was there in Bangalore, and water flows in three directions. We have three watersheds. Now today, you see there are other problems with the design. Now these are the three watersheds. I am sure as a student of engineering, you all would have understood the hydrology. You must be having the knowledge of hydrology and also the watershed. Watershed is the region which drains the water to a particular location. For example, if I say the watershed for this lake, this entire region is this catchment area or the watershed or Jalanayana Pradesh. Okay. Now let us try to understand the urban dynamics, how the things were changed and how we have used the remote sensing data. So now when you look at this, from 1973 to 2019, we have analyzed the remote sensing data, the picture of the earth corresponding to the Bangalore. This is not just for Bangalore. This kind of images are available for Bhopal or any part of the globe every 21 or 30 days interval. And today, the ISRO has launched the satellite wherein we get a 1 meter resolution Cartosat data, which is also useful for architects to do the analysis at terrestrial level, at the revenue land level. So now when you look at this, you see the green is the vegetation, the trees and other crops. The building, blue is the water body, yellow is the open space or agriculture. 1976, you see 68% green cover. That means the entire city was covered with green. That's why the city was called a garden city. Then only 8% is under red. Now when you look at 92, you see that industrialization started happening in Bangalore at Pune and Koramangala. With that is happening here. Then in 2000, you see at the outskirts the development started happening with the IT, BT sector coming to the city. So that's where the growth started happening, the dispersed growth started happening. That is where you see the urban sprawl happening here. Then 2019, you see 81% of the landscape is covered with buildings. You all know for any region to survive, 33 to 40% should be the green cover. Now, when there is not enough green cover, there will be the oxygen deficiency. That's where in a city of Bangalore, in the late evening, elders use oxygen cylinder. The city where surplus oxygen was there in 70s, today we have to use the oxygen cylinder thanks to the engineers who are responsible for the design or in the design of a bad project in the city. Now let us try to look at this in a more detail. 1973, I said is a garden city with a 68% green cover. 92, you see the industrialization at Pune and Koramangala, you see the changes happening in the landscape. Then 2000, at outskirts, the growth has happened. Now you can visualize where what has happened at what time. Then 2006 intensification, 2009 further intensification. Then 2017, you see 78% is under the red. Then 2019 is 81%. Okay. Now that is where I said there has been a 1055% increase in concrete area. Everywhere buildings. There are no humans or sensible humans, and we have lost the vegetation 88%, 79% of the water body. I said enough is enough. Let us decongest Bangalore. That is where when I wrote the article, it became the national news. Almost all the national newspaper carried my article in the front page saying that Bangalore is dying, we need to do something. Of course, the public memory is too short. Immediately people have forgotten what needs to be done. Now, let me project it for 2020, 2025. I said you need to understand the behavior of the agent. How do you capture the behavior at a decentralized level or disaggregated level? For that, divide your study region into 4 zones. The 1 kilometer concentric circle. In each circle, how much area was under the urban, you can capture that, and if changes are happening, find out why it is happening and how much change is happening. That means you are capturing the behavior of the agent. Now 1973, you see the CBD area had some urban area, 40 to 60, but most part of the Bangalore city was 20% the urbanized. Then in 92, with Pune industrial estate coming up and Koramangala, you see the changes happening there. Which was earlier 20% became this on 40% the urbanized. Then at outskirts in 99 with ITBT sector, then you see intensification started happening 2006, 2010. Now, the trend, if it is continued, the current year is 94%. And 2025, it is 98.5% would become. I'm sure as a sensible engineering student, you will agree this is a senseless development. This is where Bangaloreans are deprived of their right to live. So that's where most of the Bangaloreans have started talking about and accusing the Bangalore decision makers on the poor planning. Okay. Now the similar studies we have done in the 10 cities in the country, and each city's publications are available online. You can go through the publication, including your city, Bhopal, where you are all studying. We have done the study, which was we have published it way back in 2012-13 itself. Now, when you look at the kind of the changes happened in the each city, the different year, you can see the similar pattern. What I explained in Bangalore is happening in all the cities. See, whether it's Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, Chennai, Coimbatore, Pune, then Hyderabad, Ahmedabad. Okay, and we have looked at all the analysis. What the some statistics are also available. Now let us try to understand what are the implications of this unplanned urbanization. One is the carbon footprint is increasing. Let us try to understand what is this carbon footprint. Carbon footprint refers to the quantum of carbon being emitted or the species of carbon being emitted in the region. Now the other implications are, you see the traffic bottleneck, and sometime when we go out, we may have to spend 2 to 3 hours in the traffic junction, and by the time when we come, we will not be even able to work because of the pollution in the environment. Then we have lost the open space, the vegetation, etc. The disaster like urban floods, increase in crime rate and aggressive behavior among people have increased. Then changes in climate, heat island phenomena, and energy loss, carbon footprint increase. Then pollution, the vehicular pollution has gone up. I will try to explain all these things one by one. Okay, now let us look at the trees of Bangalore. How did we do the quantification of the trees? How did we enumerate the trees? See, what we did is, first we did the mapping of trees using the GPS, the global positioning system. We could map each location of the tree and type of the tree. That is what one of my student did. Similar exercise, we did it in a couple of wards in Bangalore. This is called ground-based measurements or the training data collection. Once you have the training data for a couple of locations, using remote sensing data for the entire Bangalore, you can find out how many trees are there. First, you enumerate the number of trees in your region using GPS, link that with the remote sensing data correspond to this. The moment you do that, you will get the relationship between the spectral signature versus the trees density or the canopy in the region. Well, the similar thing you do it in a couple of places. Once you have this training data, using the training data, using a supervised classifier, you can classify the entire image and find out how many trees are there. So when our enumeration, when we did 14,78,000 trees are there in a region where there are about 95 lakh people are there. So that means that in my campus, this is Indian Institute of Science campus. My campus is 400 acres. We have 50% green cover. We have 22,000 trees in the campus. Because of that, we have a very lively environment, and because of that, we do a very good science, and we are number one in the country and one among the top 100 the institution in the globe. Okay. Now then we have overlaid the ward boundaries, the administrative boundaries, and in each ward we could find out how many trees are there. And ward boundaries also had the population detail. You can take the ratio, number of trees per person also you can compute. When you look at the Bangalore, you see that for every 7 person, 1 tree is there. You might ask me how many trees a human being requires. I'm sure you all know the answer to this. I'm sure you are all breathing. Are there anyone who is not breathing? I'm not sure about that part. The person who is attending my lecture, I'm sure all are breathing. When you breathe, you give out carbon dioxide to an extent of the 980 grams per person per day. Young people will give out 980 grams of carbon dioxide per person per day. While the elderly people of my age group and Anand, we give out 540 grams of carbon every day. And 1 hectare of tree takes away the 6 to 8 tons of carbon dioxide every year. By that ratio, for every human being, there is a requirement of 7 trees. Now, what we have in Bangalore, 7 person, 1 tree, the reverse situation, thanks to the engineers in the city. Now, this is a quite worrying thing. That is what one has to understand. Now, the importance of the nature, if you want to learn, you can look at our literature, our scripture. In Bible, there is a mention of 722 times why the trees are required, why nature has to be conserved. Unfortunately, we do not understand those things. We try to look at other conflicting thoughts and we get into the conflicts in the society. Similarly, in Quran, if you study the Quran, Quran warns us of the imminent war if the water contamination happens. That's why to bring awareness among the public, they have introduced a system where when you visit Dargah, you have to wash the feet and fingers with a clean water. They thought that when you practice that in Dargah, you will also implement the same thing at home and in your locality without polluting the environment. So if you look at our literature, for example, in Matsya Purana or in Rigveda, there is a mention of the linkage between the trees and the water body and human and the society. For example, if you have a well at home, you are wealthy because you have enough water at home. 10 wells makes it a lake, 10 lakes are equivalent to a reservoir, 10 reservoirs is equal to 1 child, and 10 children are equal to 1 tree. The benefit of having 10 children, you can have it by planting and nurturing a tree. Had this known, my friend who is the ex-chief minister of Bihar, he wouldn't have had 11 siblings. Now today to cater the need of 11 children, he has to spend a time in the jail. Today also he has gone to the court asking for the bail. That is the kind of the situation that is there. When you lead a nature-friendly lifestyle, and you will be happy, your children also happy. Now, let me take you to another implication. As an engineer, when we take any decision related to land, invariably that affects the water in the region. Now, I said that the water body, taking advantage of the city's topography, our elders had created 1,452 lakes in the city in 1800 during the time of Kempe Gowda. Today we have other Gowdas in the system who are just following the lake. One was ex-prime minister of the country also. Today we have only 193 lakes in the city. When there are 1,452 water bodies, it could store 35 TMC of water. In the region, the rainfall gets about 15 TMC of water. That means that they had not only addressed the water requirement for in the domestic and the agriculture sector, they also ensure there is no flooding in the region. So that is what our elders had done. But today's generation think of only themselves. As long as they construct apartment, they think their earning is they have earned, and that's enough for them to this one. And that's where the sustenance of natural resources are threatened. Now, what is the status of the lakes? Let us look at it. Lakes are polluted, abused. There is no harvesting of rainwater. There is no reduce, reuse, recycle of wastewater in the region. Now, this is a lake, using GIS, you should be able to map the lakes in the region, and also how many lakes have disappeared. You can see that from 1973 to 2018, there has been 79% of the water bodies have disappeared in the region. Now, how the lake disappear, how the lake get contaminated, let us see. This is also happens in Bhopal. I know that recent years the Bhopal and Indore is doing a reasonably good job. Probably that's why there is some kind of the better status for the municipalities in Indore in the ranking in the country. Now, when you look at the Bangalore lake, lake is being used to dump the solid waste. People encroach the lake, then they construct the apartment, they name it as Lakeview apartment. I do not understand how they get the clearance for constructing apartment in a public land. That is the level of corruption that happened. And this lake receives 500 million liters of city sewage every day. Not only the everyday sewage comes from the city, even the people who are in this apartment, they also let the sewage into the lake. In fact, when the group of students, when they are monitoring this lake water quality, they reported to me about the sewage, untreated sewage coming to the lake from these apartments. I just asked them to plug them. So then these apartments today, they have the treatment plant. And those who are away, they are sending through the tankers. The lake is contaminated, not just because of the local people, even people from other places also. When the lake is in clean state, like Bhopal, you have this kind of situation. When the lake is contaminated, you see it is covered with the greenery. That is because of lot of nutrient is available. Nutrients get into the water body through the sewage and industrial effluent. See, when you wash cloth at home and when you eat and the toilet water get into the lake, that will have the nitrogen and phosphorus. N comes in because we all eat protein. P gets in because we wash cloth with detergent. When N and P get into the water body, that is the thing. Lot of nutrient is available for the plant. That's where the profuse growth of macrophyte happens in the system. Now let us look at how the lake behaves when it is like this versus this. See, when the lake is suppose it is like this. When you let the sewage into the lake, by the time when it passes through the lake, the treatment happens as it is happening here. See, sewage is entering the lake, the dissolved oxygen is 0. At the outlet, you see dissolved oxygen is 12 to 14. This model will work as long as we do not overload the lake. When you overload the lake, then you will have this kind of situation. That is what we notice. See, the DO level has lowered because you know that when the greenery covers the water body, the solar energy does not penetrate. In the absence of solar energy, there won't be algae. Algae does the generating a dissolved oxygen in the water. That is where the health of the lake is deteriorated with the letting of sewage and industrial effluent into the water body. Now let us try to understand this further. As I said, algae population comes down in the lake. Since algae is not there, the next level in the food chain, zooplankton, small fish and large fish, their population also comes down. See, the people depend on the lake for the fish, but now they do not get the fish. Now let us try to understand the implication of this on the society in terms of money. We did analysis to find out when the lake is not contaminated, what are the kinds of goods people get in the form of fish, fodder, agriculture, etc. The worth is about 10,500 rupees per day per hectare. When we pollute the lake, when it is covered with macrophytes, you do not get fish, and the worth of the lake comes down to 20 rupees per day per hectare. Now, who are the people depend on the lake? The washerwomen, the fishermen, the farmers. These are the people depend on the lake. Their livelihood is threatened when we pollute the lake by constructing the apartment in the adjacent to the lake and killing the lake. This is what we need to understand. When we give a life to the many, when we make the people more comfortable, we'll also be happy. Okay. Now, these are the locations in Bangalore where solid waste is being littered. That's where I said city has become the garbage city. The garbage city has become the garbage city. Way back in 2000, mid 2000, one of the young students went to the court saying that Bangalore there is a lot of littering is happening. That is where the High Court of Karnataka asked Indians of Science to do the study and report to the court what are the kinds of the littering status in the region. When we did the study, we were surprised to see so many locations people are dumping the solid waste. In spite of having MSWM rule, solid waste management rule of 2000, we saw this kind of mismanagement happening in the region. And another thing is, these are all in the lake bed or in the drains which connect to the lake. Then you see that the situation of the lake, because of the contamination, you see the froth formation in the lake. I have visited many countries. Nowhere people have shown the coexistence of water and fire except the Bangaloreans. Either the froth or the fire indicates the mismanagement of the water body. Why the froth happens? Because of too much of detergent use leads to the froth formation in the lake. That's what it shows. The lake is being contaminated by the sewage and industrial effluent. That is where Lokayuta took up this issue and he asked my team to do the study. This is where you can see me explaining the Lokayuta what is to be done. These are the local residents who also joined with me in taking up the study. Now, see, when you want to address this frothing, see, the froth was coming on the road, it was affecting the people traveling on the road. Now, what is the solution for that? I would say as a researcher, you need to understand the causal factor and remove the causal factor which is causing the froth. But 21st century engineers, how they address the problem, you just look at it. They just put the barricade, thinking that if they cover the lake where the froth is formed, people will not witness the thing. In fact, when they put such illogical structure, I wrote an article in the media saying that this is the unacceptable design and this is only to make money. In fact, at that time, some of the bureaucrats branded me and they said that they have achieved the success. I am just criticizing them. Their success was shortly. In 4 days, the frost crossed over, telling that this is an illogical design. In the floodplain, the building has come up. Now there is a National Green Tribunal committee looking at this issue, and I am also part of the committee. We are trying to address this causal factor and try to minimize that. See, now in the process, I understood the bureaucracy has spent 2 crores on this barricade. The 2 crore means at least 60% they would have pocketed. This is what is the thing. Sustainability in the system is threatened because of the corrupt bureaucracy and corrupt politicians in the system. Okay. Now these are the glimpse of the Bangalore situation. You see the greenery that is grows in the lake is being collected by the farmers for feeding as a fodder to the thing. Then the sewage getting into the water body, solid waste dumping happens, the fire in the lake, froth, and you see you can even watch a movie while traveling in the city. So that suppose if you leave your college at 4 o'clock, by the time when you reach, you can watch one movie also. It would be 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. That is the pathetic situation of the city. It is all because of the design of the city by the engineers. Now let us try to understand how this also affects the people. I said that the lake has a fish which is being eaten by the people. Now every unit of pollutant getting into the water body, the fish will have the accumulation of the contaminated to 1 million times. Now in the downstream, people grow the vegetable. You saw that people collecting this green leaf as a fodder. Now you collect this green leaf, the fish in the lake, and this vegetable that is grown. You will be surprised to see all these have the heavy metal. The heavy metal getting into the food in the, these are vegetables like radish, the pudina or the spinach. These are grown in the downstream of the lake, which are getting into our food plate. Now this is also leading to the health, the deterioration in the city in the form of higher instances of cancer and kidney failure. The kidney failure, as the data I have, which was 1 in 1 lakh about 10 years back, today it is 1 in 5,000 or 4,000. So that is the worrying thing. Almost every alternate human being in the locality has a kidney failure, and of course the brain is already dead with all this kind of senseless design. Now what is the solution? One can have the wastewater treatment with a constructive wetland and algal pond. The situation of the city is we have reached like this even before the corona made people to be like this. So I was showing this kind of photograph in my lectures. I am sure Anand would have witnessed my presentation in Delhi SPA when I gave a talk in one of the conference. The city has less oxygen and there's a scarcity of water, kidney failure, and of course brain also is non-functional with most of the bureaucrats who are taking a decision in the city. Now, the unplanned urbanization has led to the loss of ecosystem. There are higher pollutants which is leading to the warming of the earth or changes in climate. Now let us try to understand this concept. Okay, we did a study of the carbon footprint across the major cities in India, and we noticed that when you look at the share of the pollutant from the transportation sector. See, when you travel in the road, you use vehicles. Because of those vehicles, there are emissions. When you look at these cities like Hyderabad and Bangalore, which has a public transport, the higher amount of emission from the transportation sector, as high as 43% in Bangalore and 56% in Hyderabad. And we have tried to quantify the emission from other sectors like waste mismanagement. It contributes to 7% in Bangalore and around 7% even in Hyderabad. And industry contributes 11%. Like this, we thought that this study will help in the decision making if people are interested in mitigating the thing. The Prime Minister of the country went to the Paris. He told the world we will decarbonize India. But I see that more and more carbon is being emitted in the country than we are decarbonizing. That is where the role of the engineer gains the importance. That we have a role to plan the city and make sure that we provide a public transport which is economical, the user-friendly and secure for women and children. That is what we need to do that. Unfortunately, none of the engineers understood the concept of engineering. Engineering is the person is trying to serve the humanity. But unfortunately, today engineers think they have been trained to make money. Unfortunately, that money will not be there with them for a longer time when they earn like this. Okay, now let us look at the architecture of the building. You all as engineers, you give a design of the building. Now, what are the implications of this kind of design? Glass facade in the building, especially in the tropical environment. To understand that, we did a sampling across the city in 2000 households to find out what is the electricity consumption in the building which are environmentally friendly versus these glass facade buildings. Our surprise, we saw that in a normal building, its electricity consumption is 750 units, 750 kilowatt per person per year. In this glass facade building is about 13,700 to 14,840. About 15,000 units of electricity being done, almost the 10 to 20 times higher electricity consumption. Higher electricity consumption means higher is the greenhouse gases, and that is because of that the warming of the earth is happening. In fact, our study, what we reported for the cities, each cities, the reported our study. You see the Chennai, they are talking about my work, they have reported the thing. And there was even a mention of this in the discussion in the parliament. The two young ladies, for the Poonam Mahajan and another lady from Andhra Pradesh, took it to the parliament hoping that we will have the better situation. But where are the elders are unable to understand the concerns of the youngster. That is the kind of situation we have faced. We have a minister, Mr. Puri, he doesn't understand the implications of the glass facade building. I would advise you as an architect, please keep these aspects in mind. Every design of yours, see the energy footprint and carbon footprint should not go up. That is not environmentally friendly design. Okay, now let's look at other implications. The flooding in the region, the encroachment of floodplain, the loss of interconnectivity, lack of understanding of the city planners of floodplains and role in mitigating flood, and senseless concretization. These are the things. You understood how the concretization is happening. Now let's look at the other aspect. You see that there are conversion of the lake into the other or the drains. So that's where we are losing the lakes are being encroached, and that is where this region becomes vulnerable to the flood. Similarly, you see the drains which are carrying the water, the natural drain. Earlier, if it is the 45 meter or 60 meter, today in the name of remodeling, the current engineers are narrowing the drain. Naturally, you see that it is further narrowed down, and that's where the flooding happens. And any region between the two lakes is called as the valley zone, which has to be conserved or protected as per the law. But you see that is being allowed for construction of the SCZ, and you see the entire region is choked with the building. So this is how the design are being implemented in the region. Okay, now let us try to understand the floodplain. You all know that there has to be a buffer for a lake in urban area. How much buffer has to be left for the lake depends on the size of the lake. Let us try to understand what is the role of floodplain. Now, when the floodplain has the vegetation, you say of the native species, because of the diverse vegetation of the native species in the floodplain, the roots of the soil will have will be diverse. Because of the diversity, there are diverse microbes which make the soil porous. When it rains, the water percolates, it fills this zone, which we call it a saturated zone. Then it fills this zone, the abado zone. Then after saturation of these two regions, you will see a water flowing towards the lake or a stream or a river. Now we have deployed the sensor at various heights, the depth. We know how much water is getting into the system. Now, once the monsoon rain is for 4 months, you have the water because of the monsoon. The lake might have the water up to this level. Then after monsoon, the next 4 months, the water that is stored in this region, in the floodplain, in the catchment, moves towards the lake laterally, and that's how the water level is maintained in the lake. During summer, the water which is stored in the saturated zone, because of the infiltration array, you have the water in the lake. That's how the lake will have water throughout the year. If we have allowed the water to percolate, to allow the percolation, you should not make this surface fade, and you should not remove the vegetation. I think that is where the importance of floodplain as an engineer you need to understand. That is where an engineer, when he is trained, he should have the multidisciplinary knowledge. He should not think that he is only a civil engineer, he is an electrical engineer or an electronic engineer. When he have a multidisciplinary knowledge, then he will not do a mistake, as the current breed of engineers are spoiling the cities across the country. Now, when you look at the floodplain, you see the constitution look like this. This is there in any hydrology book you can read up. Okay. Now, see, this is a floodplain which are supposed to be with the vegetation. When the water from the catchment passes through, this vegetation were helping in treatment of the water and also in retaining the water. You know, floodplain is a region during the normal rain, the stagnation of the water happens. Now, slowly the buildings are coming up, and you see that because of the concretization, you see that the earlier when the vegetation was there, large amount of water used to go underground layer, and only a small amount of water used to be on the overland. Now today with the concretization, you see large quantum of water in the short duration. Because of that, there is a flooding in the region. Now that is how the flooding happened in Hyderabad, Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, Chennai, like that. And every city is facing this because of the poor planning of the infrastructure and poor planning of the city. Now these are the scenes you would have witnessed as far as Bangalore is concerned from 2001. Only the year change, the photographs by and large remain the same. Now why this is happening? You see the people have encroached and constructed an engineering college in Bangalore in the lake. And you see in Bangalore we travel above the bus, not inside the bus. And you know, army has to come to help, not just in Jammu Kashmir, even in Bangalore. This is because of this kind of people ruling the state who are only interested in looting the resources than providing the amenities and designing the city properly. You might say there is a change in the chief ministership. All of them are closing their eyes. Because of that, bureaucracy has become inefficient. Now you understood the Bangalore landscape. There are three broad valleys are there. The interconnected lake systems are there. Now these are the three valleys, and each of the valley we know what is the spatial extent. Now if you look at these are interconnected lakes because the natural drains are connecting one lake to the other. Now today if you look at this interconnectivity, again by using remote sensing data you are able to analyze. You see the interconnectivity is lost. Either some politician is sitting in this drain or some film hero or heroine is sitting on the drain. So that's how, you know, these people with the power, they have been misusing the natural resources. So we have lost the interconnectivity. When the flooding happened in the city, I asked the government, and of course Supreme Court also took my suggestion, and then asked all these fellows to be evicted. In some of the people enclose the lake or even the drain, and some of the influential sections of society are still not touched by the bureaucracy in the system. Okay, now you understood what is the lack of governance led to the dead city. The city which was a garden city has become a garbage city, and today is a dead city. Now, another implication of unplanned urbanization is lakes have become seasonal, groundwater table has declined, and there are changes in local temperature. Now let us try to understand this. You know, when the lakes were there, we have the groundwater table at 80 to 100 feet. That means at 100 feet we were getting water in the well. And after 4 years of the lake removal, it went down to 600 feet. Today in the same location, people have gone down to 1900 feet. After 20 years, there is no water. So that's how the importance of the lake we need to understand as a society member, that it helps in the groundwater recharge and retain the water. With too much of concretization, there is no percolation of the water. That's what we noticed in some of the parts like Whitefield and KG Hurley, etc. Okay, now let's look at the temperature of the city. Again, using the remote sensing data for the thermal band, you can analyze the temperature of the region. See, what was 19 degree in the 92 became a 28 degree, or there's on 34 degree in 2007, and it is today it's about 37 to 40 degrees Celsius. That's directly linked with the land use in the region. Now to understand that, from the center of the city we moved in 8 directions. We noted down the temperature profile in each direction. Say for example, in this direction, you see wherever you encounter lake, temperature is 2 degree lower than the surrounding. This is a heat island, whereas here you see temperature 2 degree lower. Now when you look at that, even my campus, because of the vegetation and the lake in the campus, temperature is always 2 degree lower. Because of that, you can do a good science and contribute to the welfare of the society and the nation. So now you understood the importance of the sensible design and the proper planning of the ecosystem. Now all these things, stated, when I look at all these things, the implication I would say it is because of a poor environmental literacy in the region. To understand the level of environmental literacy, we did a study among the population in the city. We found that 3.5% of the population are environmentally literate. The majority of the people can read and write, Next to Mumbai, 85% of Bangalorean can read and write. In Mumbai, the literacy level is 88%, while Bangalore it is 85.7%. When you look at environmental literacy, only 3.5% of Bangalorean know about the environment, the importance of the water, what is water quality, how to manage solid waste. These are the questions we ask. So that means 96% of the people are environmentally illiterate, including, see, Aam Aadmi to the bureaucrat, Babu, everyone is environmentally illiterate. Because of that, we see the suffocating situation in Bangalore with a poor environmental quality. Okay, now what are the solutions? Let us try to do the wastewater treatment through the remediation, the sustain the water through the rainwater harvesting, then decentralized system like water harvesting or the mini forest, then sensitize the youngster, which is what I am doing today. I am sensitizing at least 30%, 30 youngsters from Bhopal. Okay. Now, what is this wastewater treatment? You all know the wastewater contains the nutrient and chemical ions. See, you have a 3 levels of treatment. First is a primary treatment, secondary treatment, and tertiary treatment. Primary treatment remove the large particles. Secondary treatment tertiary treatment is required for removing the nutrients. Now, the tertiary treatment is very expensive. That's where the most of the municipalities end up putting the secondary treatment plant. You would have seen the STP, sewer treatment plant in your city will be the secondary treatment. That means the treatment plant would have removed the chemical ion, but it wouldn't have removed the nutrient. Now, to remove the nutrient, what is the best ecological principle one can have? See, you integrate that with a constructed wetland and algae pond. What is this constructed wetland? This is a patch of land where the marsh-loving plants are are planted. So, as the water from the secondary treatment plant passes through that and the algal pond, the N and P removal happens and then it comes to the lake. Now, this design was implemented way back in 2009 or 10, and this is a suggestion I gave, and for the last 10 or 12 years, my students are monitoring this lake. See, way back in 2005, surrounding this lake, there were 25 borewells were there. All those borewells had nitrate because sewage was let into the lake. Sewage has got N. As the N moved towards the borewell, as the water went towards the borewell, the N got the oxidized to nitrate. Now, the implication of nitrate is nitrate, you know that it is a carcinogen, which means it introduces a cancer in the system. Now, after implementing this, for the last 10 years, we have monitored this lake and the borewell. Today there are 300 plus borewells. None of the borewells have nitrate. That means I have a satisfaction through my science. I am giving a water to the borewell users without nitrate or the cancer. Okay, those who are interested, this report is available online. You can download and read. This is popularly F4 lake model. Now, how much nutrient is being removed? About 85 to 90% nutrient is removed. In this model, we have documented in this report. Okay, this is one of the things I said that the city should have this kind of the integrated the wetland ecosystem to treat the municipality water properly. Now, the next one is the rainwater harvesting. For that, you should know how much the rain comes to the city. The Bangalore city, on an average, gets 700 to 850 millimeter. Through GIS, you can find out how much rain in which city, which part is higher, which part is lower. Incidentally, my institute is in the location where there is a high rainfall. Probably because of the good vegetation in the campus, rainfall is also high in this region. Here, there are more of a concrete structure. You see the lower quantum of rainfall. Now, when we estimate the quantity of water available because of the rain, it's about 15.3 TMC. That means if I harvest this rainwater, I can meet the city's water demand. City requires 18 TMC of water. That means 70% of the water required for Bangalorean can be met through the rainwater harvesting. Now, what are the options for rainwater harvesting? One is through the rooftop harvesting. Individual houses will have 3 to 4 months additional water. Other option through these lakes. You rejuvenate the lake and store the rainwater. Then in the process, surrounding borewells also will have clean water. So now today we have 193 water bodies. We have studied all these water bodies. My 3 students have analyzed the quality of the water. We know what to be done in this lake. All the 193 phase 1, we have given the report to the government what needs to be done, and some of the lakes are being rejuvenated in the city. Now, when the lake is rejuvenated, surrounding borewells also get recharged. That's what we noticed in many of the lakes which are being rejuvenated. Okay, now to summarize what I said, see, if you do the rainwater harvesting, we get a 15 TMC of water. And when you are using 18 TMC of water, you are also generating a sewage of 18 TMC. If I treat 18 TMC of sewage, I will get 16 TMC of the treated wastewater. That means for a city where 18 TMC of water requirement is there, I am giving 15 plus 16, 31 TMC of water. So that means it's a water surplus situation. That is called a sustainable solution. For this to happen, I have a 5R formula. First R is I should have a responsible citizen. When people are responsible, they will help in rejuvenating the lake and retain the ground, the rainwater, and also allow the recycle and reuse of the water. Then only we can see the thing. Now this principle is being applied in some parts of the Bangalore by the sensible the civic groups. Okay. Now the option 3 is you can create the water body and mini forest in eastward for adequate water and oxygen. When you plan for the township, please make sure 30% is under the green cover of native species. As an architect, you need to understand the success of this thing and then implement henceforth in your design. Now, what are the things we have done? See, this is the water body created by me in the campus way back in 2008. It stores 10 lakh liters of water. I stay on the campus. My family, we use about 500 liters a day. That means on that basis, I need to have 500 into 365 days, about 1.6 lakh liters of water. What I am doing in the lake is 10 lakh liters of water is being stored here. That means 10 times the water, what I am consuming at my home, I am storing it in the form of rainwater here. So every Indian, what they consume, if they give it back to the nature 10 times the thing, then there won't be contamination, there won't be the scarcity of resources. But most of the Indians are only knows how to swallow. They do not know how to give back to the system. That's where you see the scarcity of the thing. Now this lake has become a favorite spot for our students in the campus. Not only students are happy, you can see the bird here, and also you can see this otter is there. At one end I demonstrated Bangalore is dying. In another end I am showing the positive sign of the otter being there in the dying city just because of the water body and the greenery in the campus. Now, if the otter is there, it requires a lot of fish. I do not go and supply the fish every day to the otter. Now, nature has done the job. When we did the documentation of biodiversity in the lake, see, this is what my students documented. This is 2005. You see me taking measurement. 2008 onwards, every year how the lake looks. You can see here. This is algae. This is zooplankton. The fish in the lake and the bird. And you see the otter and also the snake. There are a lot of snakes and birds in this area. Recently one of my students got the skin of a snake. I was curious. I asked him to measure the length of this skin of the snake. When he measured, he said 279 centimeters. Then I asked him to look at the literature. What is the maximum length reported in the country? He said that this particular species of snake, the Naja species, the maximum length reported in the country is 239 centimeters. The youngsters who have assembled today, please understand that I belong to the Indian Institute of Science. My institute is number 1 in the country. We are number 1 in the country because the students do excellent job, they excel. Not only students excel, even the snakes and other animals in the campus also excel. That is the beauty of designing the region with the appropriate the ecosystem in place. So when you do the design which is livable, then you are also happy and the system also would be happy. When system is happy, it gives you the dividend, you will be very happy with that. Okay. Now, whenever I meet people, I also make them to take my message forward. There was in a district, there was a drought for 2 years. This gentleman came to look that I am traveling in the city. Then he invited me for a discussion. When I met him in the late evening, he told me that he has a 12 acres of land. So in his land, we quantified how much water is available and where is the small location, the location where we can have the lowest location in that region. We prepared the report, we gave the report to him in May month. Believe it or not, in 15 days he implemented our design and he shared the photograph of that when the rain came on June 5th. And also he took up the planting in the catchment area. When I see the success of this, I would say it is because of the young people. This saint is also young, he is in the age group of 30 to 40. And people who are involved with from engineering college and the science college, from Alva's Institute, they are, and CEO of that institution is also young. So wherever youth is there, they are receptive to the newer ideas. That is where we see the success. Seeing this success of in the Jain temple, we moved to this gentleman who was instrumental in making sure providing all the resources for creating the water body. Then when we made sure in his campus the water body is created, and this stores 25 lakh liters of water. Here is about 15 lakh liters of water, 25 lakh liters of water, and also he implemented a suggestion the native species in the catchment of this lake. So now when I visited in 2018, you can see the greenery along with the water. You see a smile on our face. I am standing here, my students are there with a smile. So that is the kind of thing. 2019, last year when I visited before Corona, I see the tall trees are there. This gentleman who was alone while constructing the lake, after constructing the lake, I see the positive thing happening. He found a good partner who even takes care of the joint family. He stays with his parents and brother and the brother's wife. So everyone have a kind of a very responsible family life and a very happy family life, I would say, because this gentleman has given to the nature and community the water. Because of that, the nature has bestowed him with a good partner. In case you are looking for a good partner, don't search for a partner in a Facebook and then think of the filing the divorce in 1 week. Instead of that, you do this kind of nature-friendly design, then nature will reward you with a good partner. So irrespective of the gender, you please keep this message in mind. These are some of the success stories. Okay. Then another success story is a temple pond in Gokarna. This is known for Shiva temple. You know, for the last 10 years, the temple pond was sinking and it was covered with the weed. The local youth approached me and they asked me to give the suggestion. When we did the water quality assessment and other things, we saw that there is a large amount of organic matter is getting into the water body, which is decaying and giving that odor. Now, how to minimize that organic matter getting into the water? We looked at the organic matter in the form of the rice balls. When people perform the ritual, those rice balls were disposed of in the water body along with the flowers and the fruit, etc. Then we noticed that this we cannot solve it. We just had a discussion with the priest. You can see me talking to the priest. We suggested the priest that we will have this disposal at a designated site. We named it as a Kailasa. And then when it was disposed, the priest had to chant and collect 20 rupees per family. In the process, we have a revenue of 20 to 25,000 rupees a month, which is given to the NGO. NGO in turn has hired 3 youth. You see, skill in India is happening here. 3 youth, their job is to take out the excess rice ball from here, give it to Goshala where cattle is there, and also the second job is to do the de-weeding here twice a week. In the meanwhile, we introduce a fish which also eats the rice. Now that is an ecological engineering solution. At the same time, you know, the mechanical thing of de-weeding also is done. Now for the last 3 years, you know, we implemented this in 2017. The lake which was like this, for the last 3 years it looks like this. Now this temple is known for Shiva, the Gokarna temple next to Kashi, and poor Shiva was getting the abhishek of this contaminated water. Probably at that time he was unhappy till he met me. After he met me, within the 6 months, we have transformed the lake to this condition through innovative, sustainable, low-cost method. At the same time, the empowering the youth, giving the job, and the nature-based solution. And now everyone in the society is happy, including the Lord Shiva in the temple, because every day he is getting the abhishek of clean water. You might ask me, how do I know Lord Shiva is happy? You are all listening to me. That's also your opportunity to convey my message to all of you. My knowledge is disseminated. This is how the nature does the job. And also, if you look at my profile, last 3-4 years, I have got many awards or many publications. And today, my publication is rated one among the top 2% in the global scientists. Okay, these are the kinds of positive things happens when you do the design. So that's what every engineer has to do that. Okay, now let us think about mini forest in each ward. It improves in the groundwater table, improves the local ecology, carbon sequestration, reduction temperature at least 2 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now, if you come to my campus, I have planted this. I was fascinated by the architecture of this climber. I thought I should have it in Bangalore. That's where I got this spot with 14 seeds to Bangalore. Out of 14, 7 seeds I planted in 7 locations. Out of the 7th seed, it has survived in only 1 location, that is next to the building where I have been working for the last 2.5 decades. That means even the plants know who will take care of it. That's why it has survived here. Otherwise, my question is why not it didn't survive in the other 6 locations, which was planted by me in the same hand. The air is same, and environment is same, soil is also same, water input is also same, but still other 6 locations it didn't survive. While now you get a feel of the rain forest in front of the building. In addition to that, in front of the building, we created a mini forest of 49 species, 49 providers. The 500 sapling we planted way back in 90s when I was a student. And earlier that region was dominated by Parthenium wheat. And today, if you look at, there are no Parthenium, and you get a glimpse of the rainforest. And you see that your friends are also there in our forest. The small monkeys are also there, happily moving around. 4 families are there in their campus. Now, more importantly, groundwater, which was 150 feet when before I implemented a forest, today I have the water at 5 to 10 feet. This gives you an idea. If you maintain the greenery in the catchment of native species, you will also have water to sustain your family. And temperature is another 2 degrees lower. When temperature is lower, you will be cool and there won't be conflict in your home. And also you have diverse the animals in your vicinity. You all, those who have pets, know the importance of the animal at home. So when you have the animal in your locality, certainly you will have a better recreation, so that you can lead a happy life. This is the kind of design one should have. That is where I have suggested to the government, every ward in the city should have at least 2 hectares of mini forest of native species. Okay. Now to carry forward further, I will take another 4 minutes to wind up. See, we are doing the sensitizing the youngsters through our environmental education program in schools and colleges. I organize the training program, workshops, etc. One of the program I have been doing from 98 is popularly known as Lake Symposium. Next event of Lake Symposium, Lake 2020, is scheduled during 28th to 30th of this month. You are most welcome to take part in the event. It is a virtual as well as a classroom. You can register for the course for this the symposium, and virtually you can take part. You will see the deliberation happening at all age groups. Then create a new lake if possible, as I have done, and you can plant the native sapling. You understood what are the importance of planting the native sapling. Okay, this is the brochure you can read, which is available at this website, and IISc main webpage also you will get it. Okay, and see, this symposium also gives a forum for the school students, college students to take part. School students do excellent work of nature monitoring. Here the children are monitoring the trees to find out how much carbon is stored, and when they do that, they have the recreation. They learn the subject better when they play and learn. Okay, similarly, wherever the lake is there, if the school is there, the children do the catchment mapping and the water quality monitoring. Here the students are being trained by my postdoctoral fellow. The children go and collect the sample. They come to our lab and do the analysis. Similarly, in rural areas, the children do the biodiversity documentation. They come to us and interact with us. And then this is another glimpse of the rural school. Whichever school I visit, I have delivered a lecture of 2000 plus, and I have made sure that every school will have the greenery in the campus. These are all a bunch of my youngsters who are interacting with the kids. And kids, after doing experiments, we evaluate them and we invite them for the Lake Symposium, which is a forum. You see all the decision makers, the experts from international versus national, everyone take part in the event. So that's where the deliberation happens, and that's where the rejuvenation and such measures are taken. And apart from that, these are the modules I have developed for the capacity building for the working professionals. This is the 18th session of the course on environmental management I conducted during the September to December. Only the last week I concluded this course. The 18 years on environmental management and solid waste management, we have conducted this course. This is how capacity building happening at school levels, college level, and people working in industries and universities. We are sensitizing the all age group people. Okay. Now this is my students are working on biofuel. These are algae which has oil. We are quantifying that. When you look at the country, 65% of the country are youth. And the work what I did for the entire country, the solar potential. Today we have the country's program on solar energy. Similarly, we are working today on biofuel. We are hoping that if I harvest biofuel, solar, and youth, we will have a developed country with a sustainable energy. That's what I am visualizing. I hope that will work when all of you become sensible and take this message forward. Now this publication is available, what I have published in 2009, which became the country's solar program. Okay. Now, if you want to know more, these are the websites, the Western Ghats the biodiversity, where free and open source software and other details are available at this website. Here, my research group, the publications are available, ResearchGate or Google Scholar, and my institute webpage. When you click on this, it gives all the details of the conference, everything, and research paper section. When you access research paper, you see all our publication organized team wise, and PDFs are available. You can download and read, but don't copy and paste. Okay. Then these are the other publications. Now, when you look at the success, I would say it is because of this youth behind me. You know, when youth does a wonderful job, they contribute to the society and they contribute to the globe. So when they do a good job, there is a smile, and we deliberate in the symposium. So once in 2 years, I have conducted an event. Whatever the research I have done during the 2 years, we deliberate during the event on the first day. You are most welcome to take part in this event and learn from the work done by these youngsters. When youngsters do an excellent job, there is a smile in everybody's face. So that is what you get from this. So you need to conserve, sustain equilibrium, or else you will perish. So please keep this message and take this message forward. Thank you very much for listening to me. I was given a time from 2 to 3:30. Now it is 3:30. I am ending my talk. Thank you very much. Yes, Anand.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for covering such a large spectrum so succinctly. I mean, we have been learning about this in our subjects, but certainly the way you covered in terms of its expanse, and with definitely the real life examples and the kind of connections you could make in terms of how it related with her life directly, and therefore connecting ecology and not really considering ourselves as different part of ecology, but part of the we are part of ecology and not away from it, and not something which is isolation existence. So thank you once again. I would like student, if they have any questions. I'm sure some of them do have questions. Many of them are doing, in fact, especially the senior batch, they are doing their thesis on some of them are doing on urban water bodies and water sensitive design. So your lecture definitely mark a very important kind of a point where they can take a direction and find relevant case studies and material and maybe approaches, because many times we tend to look at only physical conditions, but then forget the latent processes which you talked about, which any ecology has inbuilt into it. So students, please go on. You can ask questions if anybody has.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Ashwath from second year. So, sir, you were saying about tree auditing in your initial analysis. So, can you explain the process and the softwares you used for the same?
So, I told you that, if you want to do for the entire city, you need to do the sampling. That is what we have done. As far as IISc campus is concerned, we did the tree census, the complete census of the tree. We mapped the location of the tree using the GPS. Since my student could identify the tree, he also, so you can see the slides of that. Can I share that?
Yes,
sir. Yes, sir. This is my campus, IISc campus. Each and every location of the tree is mapped using GPS. Today you have GPS in your mobile itself. You can also do the similar thing. When you cover the entire region in a couple of wards, use that data, then link it with remote sensing data. You will come to know the spectral signature associated with the tree canopy. Once you have that knowledge, it will help in doing the classification of the entire image and do the assessment. See, when you take a photograph from this satellite or aeroplane, only the canopy portion you can take. Say, for example, if the humans are standing in the locality, if the aeroplane passes through, only the head and shoulder is visible in the photograph. Now, considering the head and shoulder, you should identify the number as well as the species. That is what we have tried to do it, because we know what are the canopy size for the species and all, the approximately. So that is what we got from the ground-based survey. So this we have done in 4 or 5 wards. our IISc campus 400 acres is equivalent to one corporation ward. So that's what we did. And once with the training data, we have done the quantification for the entire Bangalore using the remote sensing data of 2-meter resolution. So the cartosat data is available, and earlier 5.4-meter resolution data was there, which was used for our analysis. Recently, one of my students used the 2-meter cartosat data. He did a similar analysis. Okay, that's how one can do the censusing of the trees. Okay, or the mapping of trees in the locality. Okay.
Okay, sir. So it's based on approximate of the canopy size. So we are proceeding with the analysis.
Correct. See, when you see from the top, you can only see the canopy. Suppose if you think that you are flying, what you can see on the ground, you can see only the rectangle building top and the tree canopy, like that you will see. Using the tree canopy, that is where the ground-based measurement will help. Once you have the location, what kind of species, what age group, what is the canopy size, you will find out. Then you do the statistical analysis, find out the mean and standard deviation for each of the kind of species. Then you will know that based on how to delineate the contours of the tree. Once you have the contours of the canopy, then enumerating that is not difficult. Only thing is from the remote sensing data you cannot make out the species. Okay, for that more detailed investigation is required. For that, ground-based surveys will help in even identifying the species, as my student did it for the IISc campus. Okay.
Okay, sir. And one more question, sir. So, due to climate change, there are frequent cyclonic surges along the coastal line, and there's a threat of rising sea level, which might sink most of the coastal towns in the upcoming years. So, what would you think as urban designers, our role should be towards the future of these towns, and what might be the possible interventions to move towards climate resilience, sir?
See, one other thing is, with the changes in climate, the rainy days are declining. The cyclone is one phenomenon. The other one is rainy days are declining. The rain which used to be spread for 40 to 45 days, especially in the regions of Karnataka, Kerala, etc. Today it pours in 4 or 5 days. When large quantum of rain in a short duration, and when you have concretized the region, then there is not enough scope for the water to percolate. In the process, large quantum of water run towards the ocean. So you should not allow the water to run towards the ocean. You should allow the water to move slowly towards the ocean. When it moves slowly, it allows the water recharging. When water is recharged in the underlying layer, naturally that is the water available in your well for the post-monsoon season to use. Now with the warming of the earth is happening. Still, I have not seen the sensible people doing the sensible design. So the changes in climate is imminent. With the changes in climate, I will write it and give it to you. The human race will go extinct. It is only the animals will survive. As we noticed in one of the frog case, the Philatus leucorhinus. We call frogs as amphibians because there are 2 stages in their life cycle. First stage is a juvenile stage or a tadpole stage. It requires water. Second stage is the adult stage, which is on the land. Because of this dual stages in life cycle, we call the frogs as amphibians. Now, if there are no water, what will happen to the frog? The tadpole cannot survive. But now this particular species of Philatus leucorhinus, what it has done is, as soon as the scarcity of the water has happened, it has learned to bypass the tadpole stage. That means after fertilization of the egg, we notice that in 14 days, younger ones emerging out. So that means they have got adapted to a situation when there was a water scarcity. The humans cannot get adapted to the water scarcity situation. In that process, we are all contributing towards the extinction of the human species. We are thinking that with technology, we are becoming a superpower, but we are making the world to become a victim of this superpower. So that is where we are going to pay the heavy price. If there are a couple of sensible human beings in the system, probably we might extend the period by a few years or a few the decade. That's what all happens. In the process, if we sensitize more human beings, probably we can see the changes happening in the system. When I go international or United Nations, this is the message I am giving to the people. Hopefully the things will take forward. I have come across a large number of people who are really worried. That is where we are pressurizing the government also. The government will listen only when the community and the population in total population start asserting. That is where the acquiring knowledge is equally important. When all of you acquire the knowledge, you will start asserting. That is where you will start questioning the government, as it happens now in the farmers' agitation. The moment the farmers, gain the strength through the community participation, the government started negotiating. Had it been a one person talking to the government would have arrogantly said that forget it, you are the only guy who is talking, as it is happening to me in Bangalore and Karnataka or in Delhi in Ministry of Environment and Forest. So that is where we need to sensitize the youngsters and all the people at various age groups so that we can talk in one voice. When we talk in one voice, we are giving a secured future for our children. See, your job is to make sure that your children's the life is secured with adequate water and clean air and water. So if you do that, the purpose of you being on the earth is achieved. Otherwise, you are like another animal who have come on the earth and is going. Okay? So I hope this is clear to you now.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah?
Hello. Sir, I have one question related to the flood. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Sir, I had one question related to the floodings that actually happen in most of the cities nowadays. So we say that there are encroachments in most of the cities around the river, around the rivers or any of the water bodies. But like we know, most of the places where there are encroachments, they are mostly the urban poor who actually reside in those areas. Sir, what is the probable solution for those encroachments to be actually tackled with, or how to actually sensitize, or maybe resilient kind of development could be taken place for those encroachments in future? That was my question. What strategies can we actually think of? Which areas have already been encroached upon?
See, one other thing is, let us try to understand why the flooding happens. Flooding happens when there is a large quantum of water running on the overland. Okay. Now, the second thing is when the connecting drains are encroached, naturally there are bottlenecks. When people encroach the water bodies, there are the things. Second aspect is when we concretize the region, or when we when we do the deforestation, the sediment get into the river or a lake. That is where the water storage capacity comes down. Then also the flooding happens. See now, for example, Koshi River, because of deforestation in the Koshi River catchment, you see there is a lot of sedimentation in the river. Naturally, when it rained, all the water was flowing overland, and that's where the flooding happened in Bihar and other parts of the India. Now, coming to the encroachment case, you said that the poor people are encroaching. I agree with you. For poor people to encroach, you will see there is a big man behind them. See, his agenda is first he will place a group of people, vulnerable section of society, around the lake, and if nobody notices, after 10 years, he will convert that into apartment complex, which is what is, we have noticed in the Bangalore. Now, as far as Bangalore is concerned, because of the government and a sensible the people in the city, what we are doing is we are relocating this encroacher, on humanitarian ground. The apartments have been constructed in various locations and they are relocated, hoping that they will not come back to the lake and encroach. But what we have noticed in one of the lakes, we relocated 149 houses, the encroachers, into the apartment. After 2 months, these are the same set of fellows coming back to the lake, and they have given that apartment for the rent. This is when we saw this, who is the person behind it? One of the famous builder. He is famous for the many misdeeds in the city and in the country. He is responsible for that. So these people who are their unethical practice is leading to the vulnerable section of society getting into the the location which is not habitable. when the lake is polluted, with the mosquito and all kinds of the chikungunya and dengue disease are prevailing in that region, when you put these poor people there, naturally they become a vulnerable section of society. Even otherwise, I would say that we should give them a place where they can live happy life. And we need to sensitize them, saying that it is not just the money, it is also the health is equally important. That's what we do. We also interact with the slum dwellers. Some of them have listened to us, and it was quite easy. Now, as a member of National Green Tribunal, I was involved in 1 or 2 slum relocation also. In one case, because one of the builder is behind the 89 houses, the owners, so we were unable to do it because every time when the court evicts their case, he goes for the appeal, and that's how the process is getting delayed. And now we have started talking to those dwellers directly. I'm hoping the things will change over a period of time. Okay. And also you need to keep in mind, like your teacher, I also teach. Okay, I also do science research. I publish. At the same time, I also do the capacity building through the workshop environment education program. And also I have taken up some of the societal issues, interacting with the local people with the hope that the tomorrow's citizens will be better than today. Okay? Okay, I hope
Yes,
I have addressed your queries. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, I have a question. Can I go on?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Thank you for such a wonderful presentation. So, am I audible, right?
You are audible, but you are not visible.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Please,
may
please
switch on your
give me a second.
camera and introduce yourself also. Yeah.
Sir, I am Vishek and I belong to Gurugram, near Delhi. So I am in first year, urban design. So I have a question on your thoughts on Bengaluru city. So as there is a very common phenomenon running all around the metro cities that like the densification due to the population explosion is a major cause of the eroding environment inside the city. So you talked about the decongestion of the city in some sense. So I did not get in what sense, in what strategy are you looking forward to decongest the city? Like is it in oozing out the population to satellite cities or making more green spaces, like increasing the land permeability? In what strategy are you looking forward to decongest the city?
See, Vishak, this is where as a decision maker, we should not have everything in one location. For example, having all industries in Bangalore is not a good idea. All IT thing is not a good idea. See, that is where you need to keep in mind what Mahatma Gandhi talked about. Mahatma Gandhi talked about Surajya. He said that decentralize the development. That means if I make sure that every district and taluk are equipped with the infrastructure and those industries are located there, so that the youngsters, instead of coming to the Bangalore, they can stay in their villages and can work in an industry. At the same time, they can do the farm work also. For example, if you look at in southern India, there is 3 towns are there, Tanjavur, Kumbakonam and Tiruvallur. These 3 towns are well connected by the road network. The villagers in the vicinity, they come and work in the town, they go back to the villages because of the good infrastructure. Neither the towns are densified, at the same time youth have got the job. See, the purpose of this infrastructure project or industry is to provide a job and education to the youth. Instead of making the youth to come to the city and create a slum, it's better to the industry going to that place. That is what is called cluster-based development. If you recall, recently Prime Minister talked about the go local, be vocal. That is exactly the same thing which I had talked about a year back in one of my articles called cluster-based development approach, which means in your villages, cluster villages, if mango is there, I should have the agro-processing industry in your village. I should not set up that agro-processing industry in Bangalore and then make your product to come to the Bangalore and you come to Bangalore to process it. So that is called a local level development. And if we do that, you are not densifying the region. Second thing, you said that population is increasing in the country. Please do not be carried away by such statements, okay? It is for example, in Bangalore, the apartment, 40% of the apartments are vacant. Just for investment, people have this one, and that is where the problem is happening. It is not that everyone is occupying the thing. That means there is no demand, but only the thing. Second thing is, why are we making Bangalore to have everything in Bangalore? Instead of having Infosys in Bangalore, I would say it's better to take it to the Yogis land, and the youngsters from Yogis land in UP, instead of they coming to Bangalore, they can work in near their home. Same thing can happen in Karnataka, in the other 28 districts in Karnataka, or else the other part of the country. Let us make the entire country developed country. Let us not have a pocket of the thing and make the some cities die like this, as it is happening in Bangalore, Hyderabad, or other cities. Okay, that is where holistic approach is required, and you need to have an integrated perspective of the system. Then you can design effectively. As an engineer, since you are in the first year, I would advise you to have a sound knowledge of the basic concept. Whatever the subject you learn, make sure that you have learned it properly. Then you will become a successful engineer in your career. Don't bunk any of your classes. Make sure your classmates bunk the class, even if it is a virtual mode. Understand the concept. Once you understand the concept, you will become an asset to the nation. The country needs more talented assets. The youngsters, the nation, not the young fellows. So I'm looking for the transition in the next generation. I'm hoping that you all become asset to the nation. Okay. So thank you.
Yes, sir, definitely. Thank you so much.
Hello. Good evening, sir. Sir, I am from third semester urban design. Sir, we are currently working in our design studio in Madurai city. City of Madurai, the old core of the city. And so usually what our role is we have to provide certain interventions in the cities, looking at the problems what the city is facing. And if I look upon the water condition of the city, like in every Indian city, the tanks are dying and everything, the ecology, people doesn't care about it anymore. So the type of ecological system which you have tried to revive, can this model be applied to the old Indian cities like city of Madurai or any other Indian city? Because at the time of intervention, I really can't find any hope to revive such system over there because the river is dying, the tanks is no more left over there, all being encroached upon. Through mapping, we can understand, but at the time of interventions, we don't find any hope in these areas. So, what is this like? What we can do actually in that areas?
Yeah, see, Archie, you need to understand, no ecosystem dies. It is only the dead brain in human beings thinks that the ecosystem is dead. Okay, please do not have that concept. The ecosystem is not performing its function because somebody has deprived the ecosystem the right to live. For example, that water body, the water that is entering that water body through the drains, either that is blocked. That is what happens in most of the cities where people encroach and block the thing so that the water does not enter the water body. Then over a period of time, they can encroach the water body. See, reviving the tanks is not a difficult thing. I have tried in Karnataka and also in China. See, I work also in China. When I go and give a suggestion, and in my next visit, I see Chinese doing it. When I see in India, I have to visit at least 10 times to convince the people. If I have convinced one group of people now, then another group of crazy ones will appear and say that what is the proof of it and all those things. But in China, that problem is not there. See, when you understand the tank catchment, okay, when you maintain the greenery of a native species in the catchment, that will allow the water to percolate. When the water is percolated, enough water is percolated, then the tank will have water throughout the year. Okay, that is one way of doing it. Second thing, since it is a Madurai city, in case the treatment plant is not there, you can make sure a wastewater treatment plant is implemented, as in the case of the school lake which I show, with the integrated constructed wetland and the thing. Since everyday sewage is generated at home, if it is treated and let into the Madurai, that tank, what you are referring, the people will have water to irrigate their land also. And the groundwater get recharged without any contamination, so that they will have a sustainable water. That is not difficult to do it. If there are willing people, they do it. Now, for example, since you talked about Madurai, I assume that you are from the Tamil Nadu or Kerala. Your name sounds like Kerala. Okay. Now, if that is the case, there are success stories implemented in Salem by the group, Rally for River, Isha Foundation. They are in constant touch with me. In many parts of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, they are trying to do it. Whatever I am talking, through such ambassador, I am trying to implement that. When Sadhguru Jaggi faced a severe criticism about his rally for river, his devotees used my publication to counter that argument. That is where, when they take up this idea forward, now we see the success. I wish you visit Salem and go to the Isha Foundation and understand the kind of work they are doing. Then you will say that implementing the same model, what is successful in Salem, in Madurai also it becomes easier. Okay, I am sure you should understand that. Or else you can come to Bangalore, we can have discussion, then you can take it forward. Okay.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir.
How many girls are there, Anand, in the group? Why they are not asking questions? Only one girl has asked now. Archie has asked.
Sir, I have question.
Okay.
Paridhi Rathore from third semester.
Yeah, please.
Okay, sir, actually my concern is toward the rapid urbanization and the urban sprawl and the projects that is happening in the city, like road widening and flyovers, that is actually depleting the urban green cover and increasing the vulnerability to the climate change. So yeah, I'm talking about the case of Bhopal. Currently the Bhopal tree cover fell from 66% to 22% over 22 years. So some of the development projects that is now happening, in which environmental department is also contributing in the city projects, but still the condition of that urban tree cover in the city is going worst and in the worst condition. So my question is, where are we lacking, and why is there's a gap between the best studies that the researchers and all the or are doing, and what is actually implementing in the projects, and in the context of urban green conservation? So this is my question, sir.
See, Paridhi, if you look at as you rightly said, rapid urbanization
Yes, sir.
also indicates lack of planning. They have not looked at the entire state, and they have not looked at the thing. Instead, they are thinking that a particular region is growing. If they think of the entire region, entire state, probably they cannot do the same kind of densification of the Bhopal. So now coming back to your question, you said flyovers and other this one. That's what the decision makers want. When they implement such large scale projects, they can loot 40% of the public money. That is what we are allowing. And if you look at Bangalore case study, wherever flyover is constructed, there is a bottleneck. The drainage block has happened, which has led to the flooding. In fact, many cases, there is an article in my webpage where I have talked about the frequent floods in Bangalore, the causes. I have highlighted all these things. Now, coming to the urbanization, if the decision makers at the state level, if they have the vision, they can make sure that every district get the adequate infrastructure, and with the adequate infrastructure, you should be able to have the in the respective locality, the whatever the required industries and the institutions. Then you can minimize the densifying of a particular region. That is what we have been talking. And the government of India has come up with the industrial corridor. If you look at the concept, that on the highway, on either side of the highway, 500 meters, having the industry, so that the movement of the vehicle and the goods become easier. At the same time, the people in that other part of the highway, the villagers, they can come to the industry and work and go. So that is one of the concepts that is there in the pipeline. I think that will work for the country. Otherwise, we need to make the state administration to understand the Modi's principle of go local and be vocal. If they understand that, no, then what he talks at the center level, all these fellows blindly follow. So let us make them to understand that, so that every the district headquarters or the taluk headquarters have the adequate infrastructure, and we can have the industries in those localities where depending on the kind of the resources available. For example, in a particular taluk where intelligent youngsters are there, having a software industry in that taluk is meaningful. Similarly, in the village where the other mining products are available, then having the mining processing industry there is better. Or the agro processing industry where agriculture products are available. So that is where vision is required. Today with the GIS or geospatial technology, it is not difficult for anybody to come out with the roadmap for the next 10 years or 20 years. Once you, as a youngster, I would say that instead of taking individual projects, if all of you jointly take up the project for the Madhya Pradesh together and have a kind of a development plan for the state, probably you can go to the Chief Minister and tell him this is what we demand. And I am sure that no Chief Minister will decline to talk to the youngsters like you people. You know, they might refuse to talk to me or Dr. Anand, but they will never refuse no to you people. That is where you should take advantage of your age and knowledge and make sure you come up with an interesting proposition. Go to the Chief Minister and demand what you want. Then the onus is on the decision maker to implement that, okay? Please do that, okay? Keep that in mind.
Sure, sir. Definitely. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. Hello. Yes. Sir, this is Park from third year urban design.
Okay.
Sir, as you talk about the perennial rivers, but there are also many rivers which are becoming seasonal. So what are the reasons which led these rivers to be seasonal, and can we revive this kind of rivers back?
So you can revive. Anand, can I take 10 minutes and present a small thing for this boy?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Can you see this image?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, see, this is when I was of your age, 25 years back, when I was visiting and doing the field work, it was like this. Today, the same location, I don't have water nor the vegetation. Okay? Now, to answer your question, I'll take you to a river basin. That is where, as an architect, you need to understand the landscape structure. Where the type of landscape cover decides its function. The function are hydrological, ecological, nutrient cycling. Now, how do you assess the structure? Let me take you to a river basin. You see this a river basin, originate at this location, traverses 128 kilometers, joins the ocean. Most of the engineers think that this blue line is a river, but they do not consider that the river has a catchment or a basin or the watershed area, or a Jalanayan Pradesh. Now, if you understand that, then you can retain the water. Now, for example, this river basin, a dam was constructed in the 1965. You want to understand whether any implication of the dam on the river basin or the sustenance of water, you just look at the rainfall data. Today, rainfall data is available for 120 years. 1901 to 2020, you have the daily basis. You take that rainfall data, analyze that rainfall data from 1901 to 1965 for the entire region, and 1965 to today for the entire region. You will be surprised to see 1901 to 1965, this region, this is a Sharavati catchment. The entire region was receiving 3,000 to 4,500 millimeter rainfall, while now 1965 to today, if you look at this region, continue to receive the rainfall of 3,000 to 4,500, while this region is receiving 1,700 to 1,900 millimeter. To understand this, we did the analysis at sub-basin level. See, there are first order streams, two first order join from second order, then you cluster from the tributary. Let us delineate the sub-basin in each other thing, and understand what is the forest cover and also the rainfall. Now, when you look at this catchment area, what is the forest cover? You see that on this portion where the stream density is very good and also the rainfall is still 3,000 to 4,500, you see a good forest cover. Wherever people have converted forest into agricultural land or a barren area, that is where you see the streams have become seasonal or the rainfall has declined and the stream density also has come down. Why it has become like this? See, this region also was like this about 50 years back. You know, when we constructed a reservoir, farmers in this region were forcefully evicted and they were placed in the drier belt. They couldn't practice the cultivation because all of them were the wet cultivation practitioners. You know, they couldn't do that. They waited for the reservoir work to be over. Then they came to this region, they converted, encroached the forest, converted into agricultural land. Today, some of the agricultural land has become a barren area. Now, to understand the relationship between the forest and rain, let us go to each sub-basin, okay? So, this is what you see. See, some place to see, some place like this. Now, in each basin, let us look at. See, on this side, this is the eastern side, this is the western side. So, eastern side, you see this kind of condition, western side like this. And the eastern side, you see forest cover is 30%, rainfall is 1700. Forest cover 41%, rainfall 1750. Well, on the western side, forest cover is 65%, rainfall is 4800, or 60%, 4400, which shows there is a link between the forest and the rainfall. Okay. Now, to understand that further, what we did is, in each of the sub-basin, we picked up one stream, we monitored it for 36 months. That is, to understand the seasonal variation and year-to-year variation. That's where 3 years monitoring was done by my students. And then we graded the stream as ABCD. A are the streams which carry the water 12 months, B are the one carry for 8 months, C are the one for 6 months, and D for the 4 months. Now, when you look at where are the A, B, C, D kind of streams, A type of streams occur in the catchment where the catchment has a forest cover of more than 60%. That means that retains the water, does the groundwater recharge. Because of that, there is a type which gives the water. While where monoculture plantation, it has become B or C. Where the degradation has happened, like in this portion, it is D type. Only during the monsoon you have the water. Now, to understand that, if you look at that, I explained this earlier, there is a infiltration should happen. Infiltration is very powerful when you have a diverse vegetation. Because of diverse vegetation, here microorganisms in the soil also diverse. They make the soil porous. When the soil is porous, it allows the water to percolate. You know, infiltration happens. It fills this zone and then it fills this vadose zone, and then only after saturation you see the water. We have deployed the sensor at the various depths. We have monitored for the 3 years. Okay. Now you have monsoon rain. Because of that, you have water for in the stream or a lake or a river for 4 months. Then water stored in this region, no, that is this region, comes to river or stream for next 4 months, and water stored here comes to river or stream for the next 4 months. That means 4 months of monsoon, 4 months during the post-monsoon, and 4 months of the summer, you have the water in the stream. That's how the 12 months you have water. If you have allowed the catchment to do the recharge. If you make it concretized, then nothing goes inside. Since there nothing has gone inside, all the water would rush towards the ocean. That's where you have the flooding and also the scarcity of water and the stream becoming seasonal. So in one of the catchment of the river, we have just rejuvenated with a native vegetation involving the local villages and the thing. Now today, after 15 years, those cluster of villages have the water in their wells and in the stream. So that is where nature-based solutions are available, which are going to be sustainable and which will also sustain the natural resources. That's what you need to do it. And also, if you look at that region, you see the higher amount of number of the diversity of organisms. You see they are there where water is there all the 12 months. Where water is not there, only 12 months organism is there. Now, to understand this further, now the importance of the nature. See these two fishes, which has a medicinal value. See, if I bring this fish to Bangalore and culture it, it will not have the same medicinal value. Now, that means I need to catch this fish in its habitat. Now, in that stream, if the water is there 12 months, then only the fish can survive. Now, for the water to be there in the catchment, its catchment of the stream should also have the biodiversity of trees and vegetation in the native type. That means this fish tells me there is a linkage between the terrestrial biodiversity with the aquatic diversity also. Okay. Then the other one which I was talking earlier for the question about the climate change and the impact, this is the frog which I said after fertilization of the egg, we saw the emerging out of the young ones in the thing, bypassing the tadpole thing. That is where I said this is very important from ecological and evolutionary point of view. And this is also a lesson for the climate change. Only this organism will survive while all of us will go. So that is the message we need to understand, and we make sure that we are not giving our children the earth which is not livable. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions? I thought 30 youngsters, 30 voices will be there. Only 5 voices I heard now, including Dr. Anand. I think they are thinking, looks like that. Okay.
Also, I think they had a class since we are having online classes nowadays. So
okay, sure.
In the morning, yeah, they have been interacting with the through online medium. So yeah, I think we can wrap it up. So I would like to thank you, sir, again for agreeing and taking your time from your busy schedule and interacting with the students. It has been really wonderful because we looked at a different aspect of ecology. Generally, we in architecture schools we mainly deal with spatial aspects while doing designing. But certainly, I think today students must have realized that there are so many other processes which we need to build when we develop our design ideas, and as some students ask, when we intervene, we need to also look at also these aspects. So thank you for bringing out all these processes for student, and telling us again that city is such a complex organism, and looking at from the perspective of ecology always brings a very fresh outlook as when we see as an architect and spatial designers. So on behalf of student as well as on the faculty department of urban design, I would like to thank you for sparing. And definitely our students will be coming to you, and I'm sure if there are any internship opportunities at IISc Bangalore under your laboratory, students will be happy to join.
We can accommodate provided they are disciplined. That is the first requirement. Discipline and sincerity will be there. We will certainly encourage. And if you people identify and send, then that is all the more easier for us to guide them. Certainly, you please advise your students to look at biomimicry also. Looking at the organism, they can learn many things. Like we have designed aeroplane looking at the bird, or the car looking at the fish, or the bulletproof train, like that. So I think probably the children should also, probably you should make sure that biomimicry could be introduced in your curriculum. So that when children learn from nature, they become highly successful. That's what we do that. Whenever I go out or my students go out, we also pick up some slides on biomimicry and talk to them. Okay. So anyway, thank you very much for giving an opportunity to interact with the youngsters. I am sure all of them will take the message forward. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you then.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Namaskar. Okay. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir, for some enlightening information.
Okay, thank you. All the best.
That
All the
these
best to
will
all of
help.
you.
Yeah. Now it's very much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure.